Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 43. Today we have Carrie Dils on, who is an expert WordPress freelance website developer from Fort Worth, Texas. And I think she is in a rowboat somewhere out there. We're not sure. But she has been making websites since 1998. And recently, not recently, but she's really putting 100% of her effort over in WordPress using the Genesis framework, which I absolutely love, being that business guy applier of WordPress. So, Carrie, thank you for coming on the show today. Jonathan's going to take it away and with his amazing big brain, ask you some questions.
Thanks, Carrie. And thanks. I know that you're slowly sinking in Texas. It's getting bad, isn't it? Cat and dogs all the time.
I'm sitting on a life raft right now.
All right.
So if I look wavy, that's why.
Yeah. And our websites, on the internet's working well right now on Skype.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe it was worth fixing.
I think we're going to go into how you got into the crazy world of WordPress. And then you've done some recent posts that have been really fantastic. And I thought we'd have a chat about that, Carrie. But first of all, we've got to discuss the big story. And it probably is going to be one of the biggest or the biggest story probably in 2015 in the WordPress community. Automatic buying, Woo themes, WooCommerce. You know, what do you make of it all, Carrie?
It's interesting to see these acquisitions by Automatic. I'm curious to see how they'll continue if the structure, because right now WooCommerce is the free core and then paid extensions, and some free extensions, and I'm curious to see if that model continues or what changes with Automatic.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? I think the mechanics, it's going to take a little while to sort out because they're kind of different models. But overall, I see it as quite a positive move in some ways. Do you think they're going to keep separate theme? Because, they were trying to develop their own framework called Canvas, weren't they, as well, weren't they? Do you think they're going to do that as well? Or?
Oh, gosh. I really don't know. I had a bat phone that was connected directly to Matt Mullenweg's office, but with all this flooding, it washed away. And so I kind of lost my insider check on that. But I don't know if it seems like they'll focus more, I'm guessing, focus more on WooCommerce than the theme aspect, but...
I am talking to Matt. I'm trying to get him on the show, but he says he's got to prepare himself for the madness. All right, so
can you imagine if we had like 3 starts like we did today with Matt? Oh,
yeah, he's taking tranquilizers already to prepare himself. Actually, yeah, it is interesting. I imagine Brian Clark is already banking the $30 million for Rainmaker. What do you reckon, Carrie?
I don't know if it's $30 million, but I'm guessing. There's some success there. Or you know what? Maybe there's not. Maybe they're still in that initial, we're going to throw some development at this and see if it takes off. They have such a strong underpinning as a company. I don't know whether Rainmaker will go the long haul. I'm sure Clark wants it to go the long haul. And I think it probably will.
Well, if it does, then he just sell it to Automatic, won't he? It's not bad. It's not a bad outcome, isn't it? And that 30 million, I know it's only short change for Brian, but it's not bad money, is it? That was only being flippant there. So you seem to suggest that you've got no real, you have no mental connection with Matt, so it's difficult to know. But what's your to get serious? What do you? I do see it as a positive move in a way. Do you see it something positive?
From a user perspective, yes, because anytime you can, I'm thinking more about WordPress.com users, but anytime you can make it simpler for a user to get connected, say to credit card processing or selling their products, the easier it is for them, the better. And I think that's what WooCommerce will enable Automatic to do.
Yeah, because I was actually looking at an article on Post Status, and they give also some links and a graph about the actual e-commerce market. And I was amazed at how fragmented it still is, Carrie. You would have thought like Shopify and BigCommerce. Actually, they got quite, like Shopify's only got like 5% at the most, and WooCommerce is increasing take a big, but there's an enormous grey block of almost 55%, which they don't really know what they're using.
Those are the people that are using PayPal and just didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, so it is still a very, very fragmented market. So I think there's still a lot of traction. That's probably why Automatic bought it, But it was surprising. There was no hint that they were going to go down that route at all, was there?
No. If there was conversation, it was happening behind some closed doors, but it seemed to come a little bit out of the blue.
He's a great poker player, that Matt.
I tell you what, I'm not going to play poker with him. I'd lose every time.
So we're going to leave that, and then we're going to go on to more safer ground for you. So basically, yes. So can you give us how did you get into the crazy world of WordPress, Carrie? You seem a very stable, down-to-earth lady. So how did you get into this crazy world?
Well, I only look stable right now because I took my meds before I came onto the show today. So I've been doing web development for a long, long time, and just back in the days when you were, duct taping stuff together with HTML and a little bit of server side database stuff, but mostly just hard coding everything straight for client side. Won't bore you with all my career diversions, but eventually found myself working at a job with a guy who worked with WordPress on the side. And he was telling me about it, telling me what you could do with it. And this whole concept of a content management system that already just existed out of the box that you didn't have to custom build was fascinating. So I started dabbling in it, and within the year was hung out my shingle and taking on clients. So, and the rest is downhill.
So what time period was that?
This was probably 2011-ish.
Yeah, I got into it around 2.8, 2.09, 2.8, 2.9, just before custom posts really, when I think it was actually WooCommerce when they integrated the menu system. And I think they got that from WooCommerce, didn't they? And just before custom post types, and that's when it really took off as a product in some ways. So that's great. So what led you into the world of StudioPress and Genesis then? How long was it before you kind of went it down that pathway?
It didn't take me too long. So when I started working with WordPress, the concept of themes is it's just overwhelming. Not the concept, but the how many there are in the marketplace. So I did a lot of just sniffing around. I downloaded a bunch of themes from WordPress.org. I tried Elegant Themes, Genesis. Basically, just tried anything I could get my hands on. To get a feel for it. And coming from a development background, having the flexibility to go in and make edits and get things just how you wanted was very important to me. So I think that's probably what initially led me to StudioPress and Genesis. It was the first one that seemed the most intuitive to work with and be able to customize. I know for folks that have, like you, that have been around WordPress and standard WordPress themes for a while, that the way Genesis does things might seem kind of back-assward, but I don't know, in my brain it clicked.
Yeah, because folks, we had a little bit of, we've had some minor technical problems and we had a bit of a chat. And I've been trying to learn Genesis. I've been for the past few months and I'm struggling. But I did get your video from lynda.com and that confused me even more. Not because it's not excellent. You do your best to explain it very straightforwardly.
Yep. I meant to mention that lynda.com relationship too in your intro. So we'll mention it now.
Yeah, because I'd like to point out that Carrie does an excellent intermediate to advanced Genesis course on lynda.com.
And her website is killer for finding information out about Genesis.
It certainly is. It's a great resource. And thank you for continuing in developing that, Carrie.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could put in a little bonus for your listeners, if anybody wants a free 10-day trial of Lynda, which is plenty of time to take. Most of the classes on there under an hour. So you could get a lot under your belt in 10 days. But go to Lynda, lynda.com/trial/Carrie Dils.
Okay, we'll put that link in there too.
Yeah, so...
FYI, commercial for Lynda. I'm the kind of person who puts Lynda on for the summertime for my kids. It's another way to think about it. I got a 13 or 15-year-old daughter. So the whole family, does their Lynda for the summer when they're not in school.
Oh, nice.
A lot of people don't think about that, but it's a great platform for learning. And it's nice to be an instructor there. So hey, I'm going to ask a question real fast because the audience wants to know. Those people who are the business developers and that sort of thing. We want to know for Lynda is when you become a Lynda instructor, what's it like and how do you become a Lynda instructor? And do they teach? They have a certain format how they teach, of course. So what's that process to become a Lynda instructor? Or is it secret?
I first learned WordPress over at lynda.com. There's a fella, Morten Rand Hendrickson, who teaches.
We don't know him at all.
You don't. Yeah, we won't talk about him.
Morten, one of our board members.
Fantastic guy, and so I met him for the first time out at WordCamp San Francisco in 2013, and you would have thought he was Mick Jagger. I was fawning all over him and having fangirl moments. And Morten, who's mortified, I'm sure.
Here's our feminist board member on WP-Tonic.
Yes, yes.
Jonathan's going, what?
Oh, yeah. I love just to ask Morten his opinion about anything because then you can get going on interesting conversations.
I'd just like to say he's been our longest. And I mean the longest interview we've ever had. We've actually had to break it up into 3 episodes.
He's our panelist. He's also a panelist on WP-Tonic.
We ended up with 3 episodes of an hour long each.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, Carrie, we've really interrupted you some more, both of us.
We have, haven't we?
No,
so drive on, as we say, Jonathan. I should have Jonathan here because of the feminist comment.
Yeah. So actually, Bill's brought up an aspect that I was going to actually ask you. How you are? I wouldn't say unusual. That's the wrong word, but you're.
I might be unusual.
No, you're experienced developer. You're well followed, but you're also a female, and there still doesn't seem to be enough female developers in.
Oh my!
What have you got any insights why that is? And has
Jonathan, we didn't find out about how she became on Lynda.
I thought you were going to say about how I became a female developer.
This is a great show. You fit right in. We got to get you on your regular panel.
Yes, but basically, do you want to answer the Lynda question first?
So we got off shot with Morten. Morten's easy to get off track.
Yeah, go on to the second part.
I'll give you the quick rundown. So built a relationship with Morten, and he thought that I would be good for the types of instructors Lynda was looking for. So he introduced me, and I went through a series of interviews, and within the year was out there recording courses. So they have a beautiful facility out in Southern California, and it's just everything is done exceptionally well. In other words, we're not recording on iPod earbuds. And
it's not bad. If you're going to record, it's not a bad platform to record off.
It could be worse. Could be worse. Yeah, and then they not to rabbit trail even further, but I'm sure you probably heard the news here in the last couple of months. They were acquired by LinkedIn, so there's still a little bit of a question mark over what that merge will look like. But yeah,
very good.
So women developers.
Yes. Yeah, reflecting back on your career, do you think it's cool, to get the gravitas, the serious, being treated as, I try and treat everybody equal. I just see it as a human rights issue. I don't really care your femininity, your sexuality, if you're green, yellow, I just see it as a human right issue. But have you faced any problems, because of your, being a female, in your career choice?
I really haven't, and I'll put two asterisks on this. Number one, I know that that women do face problems, so the fact that that's not my experience isn't reflective of the whole. But secondly, I can also maybe be unaware at times, and to give you an example. Was recently on some email chains with a third party friend who's male, and then a client who is male, and I was getting some pushback, and we're just going in a friendly way, but just kind of going back and forth. And my male colleague suggested that, not saying this was the case, but sometimes people might think that they could push you over a little bit because of your female. So, stand firm and make a point because you have a valid point. I'm not describing this very well, but all that to say, I don't know even if that was happening and it didn't impact my behavior, but things like that could have happened, and I'm just so oblivious I don't even catch it.
Well, you're a Texas girl, aren't you?
Yeah, tough.
I tell you what, we're packing heat right and left. Bring it on.
Hey, let me quantify one thing about Morton too. And when he does on his website, he calls himself a feminist. And if you talk to him, he'll talk about that. His whole idea is to promote equality online in the websites and to get more females active in doing this type of business till it's neutral. I'm not sure why it evolved like it is. Podcasting's 85% male, 15% female.
Really?
It's moving. It's starting to get more female, but it's really unique.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think of the development communities, I think WordPress. This is just my perspective, and I would like your reflection on this. I think of the development communities that I've been part of. I think WordPress is the most welcoming of all types of people, of all backgrounds. Would you agree with that?
I would, and I haven't done exhaustive comparison, but generally speaking, things trickle downhill, and it's, all the way up to Matt Mullenweg. It's very clear that the foundation and the project is interested in equality, equal participation, respect, all those things. So I think that's really permeated the WordPress community and made it unique among others. And the fact that, I could list off the top of my head some just crackerjack female developers in the WordPress space. No lost for a long list there. So.
Yeah, but I've got to tell you, obviously you've been on it, and we love you to have you back in the following months. We do WP-Tonic Live, our crazy live show with our panel. And I've got to tell you, Carrie, we have, I actively try and get ladies on the show. We have one regular panelist, Sally, but I find it hard, actually, and I've really gone out my way to try and get ladies on the show, and Morton's been encouraging and tried to help me on that, but it's not always easy.
I'm going to give you a cheat sheet.
Right.
Just head over to my podcast and search through my previous guests, and you can just cherry pick some fantastic ones.
Yeah, it is true. I do listen to it actually. Thank you for pointing that out. So let's move on. Let's talk about some of your recent posts, because you've been cranking out some really, I feel you've been cranking out some really interesting stuff. And you talked in one of your posts, are you suitable to be a freelancer? I thought that was an interesting thing. So, of the kind of junior people looking at freelancing, what are some of the key things you would suggest that they got to have or they got to think about before going down a freelance kind of career path?
I think probably the biggest thing is to realize that freelancing. So let's say I'm a developer or somebody's a photographer, whatever it is they do, and you love that thing, and you think people will pay me money to do this thing. So you hang out your shingle, and what even I didn't realize as a very young freelancer was you are also your accountant, you're the janitor, you're the salesman, you're your marketing team. There are so many different hats that you have to wear in order to get, that one paycheck. So just being aware of that, and if those are, and certainly those are roles that you can grow into. But if you're adamantly opposed to, like, if you just want to do photography, if you focus on your skill and what you do well, without the business side of it, you might be better off being an employee rather than self-employed. I went off and forgot what the original question was.
Yeah, I have that problem. I'm sure all us interviews have that problem. Would you, if you had a young person that was coming for some advice, female or male, and they were looking to, go into the WordPress development, you got Odesk, you got Elancer, you've got a lot of people offshore. Do you think, obviously there will always be a place for the top developers, but most of us live in the kind of intermediate world, especially English people. Do you think you can make a consistent, decent living? And would you advise that young person to go down that route? All There are so many jobs in the WordPress space, and I don't think it's all got to be either Elance or these, top tier developers. I think there's plenty of middle ground to be had. I mean, I see people looking for somebody to help out on projects all the time. I think part of it is being connected to the community so that you're aware of when those opportunities are out there. And then secondly, instead of going into it and which was what I did, I'm going to do it all. I will be your graphic designer. I will print all your media. I will build your web. I will lick your stamps. I will do it all. To really niching down and finding something specific that you can excel at, and then going after those sorts of products. Those sorts of projects. Was your and if I get this totally incorrect, I'm sure you'll put me right. I forgot the gentleman's name. Did you not recently interview on your own podcast? I forgot the young man's name, but he specialises in WordPress, looking at WordPress sites and making them quicker. Oh,
yes. Andy Adams.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with him. I thought it was a great interview. So is that what you're talking about? Find a kind of marketing niche and try and aim at that? Would that be one of your key advices?
Exactly. And so, for instance, I love meeting people, finding out what they're good at, and then just sort of filing that in my mental Rolodex. And then if I come across somebody needing help in a certain area, I can flip through and say, oh, okay, you two would match. But you'd be surprised how many people I've asked, okay, tell me what it is that you do. Like if I see a job come across the wire, what would that job be that it would be the perfect connection for you? And people have a hard time answering that. So maybe it's saying, even like I love working on WooCommerce sites or whatever it is. The thing is, we're multifaceted and we have skills across a wide area. But for marketing purposes, at least being able to sell yourself on one specific aspect, I think makes it easier for people to hire you and connect you to the right opportunities.
I can only to quickly put you in the picture and hopefully our listeners will get some value from it. See, I got into, I'm 52 now, and I got into web design about 10 years ago. And I had a successful business in the UK, and I got into this as a hobby. And I came over to America with my wife, my ex-wife, and I just didn't want to work for an agency. I'd been working for myself for over 20 years, and I just didn't want to be an employee. So I got into web. I took a year off, and I did a course, but the actual on reflection, but I think it was still the right route for me because of my age, my background. But I think a lot of developers, they did, and for understandable reasons, they just concentrate on the technical skill level, but the customer management, all the soft things, they're pretty, and on reflection, even though I had this business experience, I was horrendous at it initially. And putting in not barriers, but structure about what your relationship's going to be like from the start of the project, all these issues. I think there are other things that people got to be aware of. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. There's a great book called The E-Myth, and it was re-released, maybe a decade ago, called The E-Myth Revisited. And for the longest time, I thought the E stood for like electronic or something to do with the internet, and it does not. It's the entrepreneurial myth. But it goes back to, the book starts off with an example of a woman that is excellent at baking pies. So she opens a bakery, but quickly becomes dismayed at all the aspects of running a business. And anyhow, the book kind of breaks down the four key elements of being a successful entrepreneur. So, and reeling all of those into yourself. And now I'm just kind of blabbering again. But I think,
that's very good what you're talking about, the E-Myth. That's actually evolved about the time the internet was just starting to show up. That was in the early 90s, if anything, earlier than that.
Yeah, but I have suffered, you're giving some excellent advice, Carrie, because I personally am a bit of, in the industry, I think it's called a bit of a unicorn. I like design, and I did do a master's in graphic design, but I've never been interested in print. And then I got into, the coding side, and then I moved to WordPress, and I just cannot concentrate on any one thing that long. And I've suffered from it financially, and also there's so much to learn now, isn't there, Carrie? You've got, if you say you're a developer, that's the other thing. Why do you think, there's been a few articles that WordPress developers, intermediate to high level, there's indication they're paid almost 30% less than like Ruby on Rails or other kind of developers. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I've heard some of those same statistics, and I don't know all the reasons behind it, but speculation in general that WordPress is viewed as not, if you're a WordPress developer, you're not as serious or as skilled as someone who's out, doing Python and C++ and Ruby developers and all those sorts of things.
Isn't WordPress just like a Facebook?
I just built a Facebook replica yesterday. About 3 hours.
$500. Here's Facebook for you, dear.
Next, I'm working on a building YouTube knockoff tomorrow.
Yeah, you can do it.
Answering your question is, you can do WordPress with just a basic free theme and do a reasonably okay job with few hours of training, posts, blogs, things like that, right? And that's where I think the confusion starts. Is it's as complicated as anything you can imagine as you progress.
Well,
that's well put, actually, isn't it, Carrie?
What's that?
Unless you use Genesis in your theme.
Well, and a lot of other technologies offer certificates or licensing or something like that, giving you you've met X standard of excellence. So now you can actually call yourself a Microsoft certified database manager or whatever it is. And nothing similar or remotely similar exists in WordPress. So you have people like me calling myself a developer, and then you also have people like Nason calling themselves a developer. And I mean, I would be embarrassed for him to even look at a piece of code I've written. So I mean, it ranges the spectrum of people who. But
I also think Moulton, when he was being interviewed by Adam Silver, another one of our panelists, Moulton came from a photography background, and I got into web development when it was just HTML and CSS, and then you had content management systems, and I started with Expression Engine, and then I rapidly got into WordPress. And to be effective at WordPress, you start to have to learn PHP, and that's my background. But then you got other people that come into WordPress from a very traditional programming background, where they do a computer science degree, but if you ask them even to knock up a basic graphic or have any kind of business logic or give any advice to a client outside hardcore development, they're totally lost. So I think that's one of the factors, that there's so many people that come into WordPress from very different backgrounds. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. We're a melting pot.
Yeah, we're a rabble, aren't we?
Well, just like Bill said, there's a very low barrier to entry. I mean, you could take a course, one of Morton's courses on Lynda and start. I guarantee you would know at that point more than most people about web development, and build a site for your uncle's puppy mill, and now you're a web developer.
Yeah. I think the other factor is CSS. It's not really a true programming language, and people from a real computer science can be a bit dismissive. But I've also known people from that background, when they're committed and they've got time restraints, they've literally wanted to commit suicide because they just mentally can't cope with this. There's something about CSS that the real true computer science background individual can really not cope with, because it's
why?
Go on,
it's because really hardcore programmers have no sense of what good UI looks like. They're just staring in terminals all day. And so then when you put them with something,
I'm so glad you're saying that.
When you put them in front of a language that can make things beautiful, of course has the potential for evil too, it just makes them go haywire.
Yeah, but I also think CSS, floats the whole thing, pseudo selectors. It's a bit of an art form. You got to get a feel for it. And I haven't really developed a CSS. I've done for almost 3 years. I've just been using kind of starter themes, and I've hardly, I miss the start of it. So I'm just rambling. So let's get on your other topics that I thought was really interesting. You were talking about is there the oxygen? Is there the business possibility in the Genesis for third-party themes? And you kind of gave some links to over 30. There was one link to a site that gave over 30 sites. But I'm still quite surprised that there isn't more third party. There's more more choice, more selection at the present moment. And I think there's still a lot of possibilities. What's your thoughts about all this?
I think there definitely are. That article was the result of multiple people coming and asking me, should I build a Genesis theme? Do you think I can make any money with the Genesis theme? Is it too narrow? Is it too this or too that? Yeah. And at the end of the day, my consensus was, it all depends. If first going into it with eyes wide open. So what does it mean from a resources perspective to produce a theme, to market a theme, to support a theme? Just like freelancing, there's all these other aspects involved. It's not just sitting down and programming a theme. That's relatively easy by comparison. One, do you really want to tackle all that? But for people that want to, there's all kinds of options. How many themes are in the .org repo? Thousands. I don't. It's been a while since I looked at the exact number. But you take even a niche of those, say, accessible themes, which I know you can get Morton talking passionately on that topic.
Well, you have, haven't you? That was another topic. You've written a lot of posts about accessibility and accessibility code, haven't you?
I have. I wasn't trying to make that a self-promotional, just using as an example. But last time I looked, I think of all of those thousands of themes in the .org repo, less than 20 fell into that accessible category. So to me, that in and of itself is a wide open field for anybody that wants to go build themes catering to accessibility. Now, of course, maybe that's not as popular as a theme with 30 sliders and million widgets that you can find up on ThemeForest or something. But all that to say, there are plenty of gaps in the market that it just kind of takes a little digging around and looking to see what those are.
Yeah, it's a difficult world because you've got the whole thing of the actual technology of breakpoints and dealing with responsive design. In technology terms, it's not that difficult, but you got all the intricacies of dealing with mobile browsers, but it's more the planning. There's a lot there has to, it's not actually, I'm trying to change my ways. I have a tendency to want to give up for the screen and then work downwards, where most people, like if you're using Bootstrap, they work from the small screen up, and in some ways that's probably the better. But I just have something in me that I work from the bigger screen down. But that takes a lot, to get a truly responsive theme that's really been worked out. That's a lot more pre-work, isn't it?
Oh, sure. And even what you're talking about with that mobile first, going for the small screen and then getting bigger. Conceptually, it's a little bit of a mind shift.
Especially if you come from the more, you're showing your age. So I think what would you say about people that are thinking to go into the third-party theme development with Genesis? Is it just they've got to be aware of the support consequences, and they just got to have a business plan, and they just all the normal things if you're in a business? Is that what they really got to look at and work at?
I think so. I mean, marketing is probably you can build a fantastic theme and not market it well, and nobody buys it. And that was, I've been in that boat. So yeah, just kind of having a plan, and it doesn't have to be a truly formal business plan, but even, mapping out in your head of, this is the target. Instead of building a theme that's for the whole world, these are the people I have in mind when I'm creating this theme, and this is my plan for supporting this long term or short term. Making those decisions up front.
Jonathan, I'd like to sort of butt in here as usual. Yeah. Just a follow-up to go into more detail of how you market. What do you find are your best strategies to market your service? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people they struggle. They struggle with WordPress, of course, but they struggle also with the marketing side. There's a lot of small companies. They really don't need to be the WordPress developer. They need to be whatever their niche is, like you talked earlier. But then how do you market? What do you find is the most successful platforms? Do you use autoresponders, email?
I'm awful at utilizing my email list. It's on my list of things to learn and get better at. I've had a lot of trusting people give me their email address, which I appreciate, and then I just sit on it and don't really do very much with it. I've tried to, with existing customers, send ongoing emails offering. Of course, they're not going to give. They've already given you money, but continuing to provide value for them in the way of tips or tutorials or that sort of thing. As far as that initial marketing, I wrote. My latest theme, as we talked about, accessibility is a big feature of that. So I wrote accessibility series on my blog to try and get some education, but also, hey, look, here it already is. And I don't know to what degree that was successful, but I think, basically it's getting the message to the people that would want your theme in the first place. And I'm nobody, I should just say this now, I'm nobody to give marketing advice because I'm terrible at it.
Well, you have a podcast. that is marketing in itself, right?
True.
Except for Office Hours FM.
It is.
A little commercial. Go ahead.
Occasionally I sponsor an episode where this episode brought to you by Utility Pro.
Yeah, but I think you're being a little bit ungracious to yourself a little bit, Carrie, aren't you? Because, you have decided to kind of pin your flag to a very ethical company, Studio Press. And, they're not saints, but I feel they're, as a team, they're one of the more ethical, in general, most people in WordPress, if they've got a reasonable career, they're pretty decent people. But Studio Press, Brian, the two Brians, the way they run their company, the people they hire, normally a company's the CEO will hire people that have a similar philosophy. But most of the people that I've dealt with in Studio Press have been pretty impressive. And you kind of pinned your flag to Studio Press and Genesis. And that's been a pretty good philosophy for you, hasn't it?
As a niche, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think it's too broad.
Oh, you do?
I do. Because even if you look at the Genesis ecosystem, there's so many different areas where you can serve clients or serve other developers, either through your products or through actual services. Like, for instance, all the time people want Genesis customizations. They probably do with regular WordPress too. I just don't see those inquiries. Hey, I need this widget moved and this, and these colors changed and blah, blah, blah. How much would it cost to do that? And I've gotten to a point in my career where I don't take on those sorts of projects because they're, it's just an hour here, an hour there. It's great. Well, I'm digressing. It's great when you're first starting. At some point, becomes a very inefficient way of earning money. But I mentioned that on my podcast once, that was an area if somebody wanted to just do Genesis tweaks. And so
send them my way, Carrie.
You want him. Well, there you go.
No, I'm building processes because you are correct, but I am actively building processes that hopefully will deal with some of the problems you're talking about. But there's some people at the collective is a co-sharing environment.
The Reno Collective.
The Reno Collective, Carrie. And there's a couple of really, there's a guy called Dylan Clen, and him and his partner went for really big WordPress jobs. but there's a problem because they would go on forever, and you get into a cash flow problem. The sweet is the medium jobs, but everybody's after the 6 to 10,000 jobs that you can get done in rapidly, and then you can go on to the next one in your pipeline. But like I say, everybody's after those, and then you got the smaller jobs. But you're right, what you said, that can be very inefficient. But I'm trying to work on a methodology kind of that deals with that to some extent. So send them my way, Carrie.
Beautiful. All right, get your.
Do you think I could cope with my English humour?
Just have on your contact form, do you think Monty Python is funny? And if they check yes, then they're
all right, aren't they?
Through. Yeah.
If they don't watch it, I've got to be a bit careful, haven't I?
If they don't check it, you just add another 100% to the cost.
Yeah, well, I've learned that anyway.
You redirect them to somebody else's website.
Double the cost, yeah.
So we had this quick, we'll probably wrap it up in the next few minutes, but we had this initial conversation about, me struggling to learn Genesis, and I plug away. So if somebody, has got some knowledge of WordPress, and they're looking at Genesis and they want, to really just not, they want to heavily modify a starter Genesis theme or some of the commercial themes. You've taught it on lynda.com, and you've done a lot of educational pieces. What are there any tips and tricks that you could give our audience about the process of, so it's not quite such a struggle?
Sure. The first thing would be, when you're dealing with Genesis, even though they call it a framework, it's actually a parent theme. So by the time you get your hands on any other theme for Genesis, it's already a child theme. So that's the theme that you're gonna modify. In the WordPress world, if you saw a theme you really liked, you would use that as a parent theme and then make all your customizations via child theme. In Genesis, that dynamic doesn't quite exist because there is no grandchild theme. So that child theme that you take, consider it yours to never be updated, because all the updates happen to Genesis, not your child theme, and just tear it apart and make it your own. So edit the CSS files directly, edit the functions file directly. There's, you don't have to go that extra step to an additional theme. And then the second thing would be, get your hands on as many Genesis themes as you can, and there's quite a few free ones out there. Or buy the developer pack from Studio Press. It's like a $350 investment. But if you're planning to do this and make money off of it, it's a good investment. And then just pick themes apart. So say like the Parallax Pro theme that has those nice scrolling parallax effects. You want to know how to do parallax? Well, go deconstruct that theme and see, excuse me, how that's all working. So that would be my best advice, just sort of deconstructing and working directly in the child theme.
Bill, my co-host Bill's got a couple of quick questions for you, Carrie.
That's really good. Carrie, what you just said was fascinating, because that's where the step I'm probably heading next. I've been using Genesis with Dynamic primarily, which is an easy building site, and I've built a lot of web pages, and mostly for podcasting, and also collecting email and using other elements, squeeze pages, of course. But those are really good. So we've got about 10 more minutes left. 7 to 10 more minutes. We can wrap it up. But as we go into the end, there's some things that people always ask. They want to know, especially in your business, how do you manage your time? Are there any tricks? Because it's really easy to lose a big block of time. I did it yesterday.
Especially talking to English geezer on a Wednesday afternoon.
Well, for example, I got behind yesterday and I'm behind today. And that's why, you get into something and you lose a block of time. How do you manage your time?
Good question.
Oh, gosh. Somebody else asked me that just very recently, and I had to confess that I'm not the best of time managers. But probably the biggest help is shutting down social media and only, checking it at certain times of the day. Or, maybe cracking it open if I have a question to ask someone or just a comment I cannot wait until lunchtime to open up TweetDeck and go. But generally speaking, get rid of those distractions because, you can suck yourself down you can lose 30 minutes or an hour in no time flat. The other thing I found really helpful was to have a plan for the day before you ever sit down at your desk. So today, before I wrap up my day, I actually use a little tool called Todoist, but I'll have it mapped out what are the things that I need to take care of. So as soon as I come to my desk, I don't have to know where was I. I can just pick right up where I left off. That's been a huge helper. Do that both weekly and daily. And then the other one would be the Pomodoro technique, which is the work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. And with those, there's a little timer I love. It's called Tomato Timer. And it's just a little online timer. And I'm sure there's other ones besides Tomato Timer. But you set the timer, go, and just have 25 minutes of distraction-free, whatever it is you're doing. And then, you get it for 5 minutes, take a little breather, come back and do it again. And it's a great way to have focused productivity. I even started doing that to handle my inbox. So I know that I've only got 25 minutes to make it back down to inbox 0. So
I thought you were going to say that's how you manage your personal life.
Oh no! I've only got 25 minutes to drink this beer.
That's very good. I mean, you're more advanced than most when you're talking about Pomodoro technique, in which you can Google that and find it. It's pomodorotechnique.com. But I've heard a couple of people talk about Pomodoro technique in this business because one thing is it's a balance. You get isolated in programming, working by yourself, and you start sidetracking where I can look at this. So it's very good. That's very good. You have some excellent techniques. A couple other questions, and you actually started to answer one. Outside of WordPress, is there any tool that you really like in this world of online?
I do. I've really enjoyed Todoist.
Yes, you mentioned that.
It comes from the getting things done philosophy, which essentially is whenever something pops into your brain, which all of us, it happens all the time. To be able to immediately get that out of your brain and onto a piece of paper or, in this app, so that then your brain is back free to do as it was. You don't have to think, okay, well, I was trying to remember all these things. So big fan of Todoist and other software-wise.
What about content? Do you use a project management system at all?
I don't. That is
you naughty girl.
Part of the reason for that is just the typical project size I work on, and because I'm solo, I don't need a lot to manage it. I've worked, with other folks or been brought in as a subcontractor, and will fit into whatever system they're using, but.
Yeah, I understand.
Shamefully, most of the time, email is enough to.
Yeah, well, it's difficult, isn't it? If you're working, so a lot of your work is direct with client rather than in-house, in trade. If that's the case, it's probably best not to use because they're going to bulk at it, aren't they? They're not going to use it, are they? So there's no point, is there?
It depends. I mean, I know some people are hardcore about making their clients, all use the same system, but I want to be as low friction as possible. My job is to make it less stressful for clients. And
I agree with you there. I think trying to do that, my experience is it doesn't work anyway, and I totally agree with you. Got another question, Bill?
Yeah, last question. This is a really important question. It's a really important question. Actually, I could have two questions, but I'm only going to ask one. Tell us about your labs and the rescue dogs. In 30 seconds or less. That's like the question.
30 seconds left.
Yeah. And you can find them on your WordPress site, which is carriedils.com, and they're on the bottom, and there's a beautiful picture. They look like gorgeous labs.
They're real sweet boys. They're both about 3 or 4, 3.5. We don't know exactly how old they are because we got them through a rescue foundation, but Good-looking dogs. They love to play ball. They're jealous of each other. If I'm petting one, the other one comes up and rams his head aside so we can. Both of them have to be getting equal pets, equal loves.
Oh, of course.
Sweet guys. Terrible as guard dogs because they just want to.
I love people.
Lick you, but yeah.
Very good, Carrie. So, Jonathan, finish it up. And
I just want to talk about the Labradors now. I had.
I was going to ask her what her favorite food was too, but
the Labradors are much more important. I had one in England for 13 years, actually. Nelson. He was Labrador, Newfoundland.
English lab.
Well, no, he was a Newfoundland.
Yeah, Newfoundland. Okay.
He was enormous, Kerry. He was like 130 pounds, and he was just a monster. I called him the Beast.
Did he have the big blocky head?
Oh yeah, he was just a beast of an animal, you know. But he had a thing about swans and water. Obviously, you would have the thing about the water, but he always thought the swans would be friends, and they weren't too keen.
Okay, I'm gonna still ask her. I'm done. What's your favorite food out of Texas? Tex-Mex?
I love nachos.
Oh yeah. Spicy?
Oh, yeah.
You got everything down there. You got the barbecue, you got the Tex-Mex, the chilies.
You haven't got this. You haven't got this fixation like Matt about barbecue, then.
No. I mean, I do love barbecue, but I don't need it for every meal.
You have down there, don't they use the rub barbecue and all sorts of different combinations? That's definitely barbecue.
Some dry rubs and some are. The dividing line, I think, is probably the Mississippi River for, if you're west or east of how you prep your barbecue sauce.
Do you know this fact about Matt? He's actually in the Guinness Book of Records for eating the most chicken nuggets.
Oh my God.
Did you know that?
He's got to come on the show now.
But I'm going to
Thank you for tuning in today to WP-Tonic. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. For more information, go to WP-Tonic.com. And for products, you can always go to WP-Tonic.com and NewMediaGold.com. Until next time, go out and have a Chicken McNugget and think of Matt.